we are on side 2 and we are about to return to local news, so over to Malcolm.
An outdoor gym installed in a Palmer's Green Park has been far more popular than anticipated. The Green Gym at Broomfield Park in Alderman's Hill, which hosts 12 different pieces of gym equipment for free use by park users, was opened by the Park's Friends group in March. And Chairman Lucky Marangos said the gym, funded by a £33,000 grant from Enfield Council's Residents' Priority Fund, had been a great success. He told the Enfield Independent, "It really has been extremely popular, far more than we'd imagined, and we've had a lot of excitement from people in the area. All of the comments we've had have been very positive, and one woman even said she'd cancelled her gym membership because she would use this instead. It's great because we've had people of all ages, shapes and sizes, and getting more people in the park using the facilities is one of our long-term aims. The gym is installed on a hard green floor with all the equipment coming with a 25-year guarantee. Councillor Chris Bond, Cabinet Member for Environment, said, "Residents asked for it and it's a great way of getting active. It also fits in well with our fitness initiative. We've got some of the best parks in London and we're the greenest borough, so we want people to enjoy them."
A multilingual wordsmith from Enfield was one of 3 triumphant winners in the 2012 Foreign Language Spelling Bee held in Cambridge. Year 7 pupil Stephanie Pilavakos, a pupil at Highland School in Winchmore Hill, defeated 26,000 other students to become the National Foreign Language Spelling Bee champion in the Spanish language category. Stephanie, 12, who is of Greek origin, fluent in Greek and is also learning French, was encouraged by her school to study Spanish, which she excelled at. She was then entered into the competition, which also tests students on German and French. Spanish teacher Carmen Edmet described as admirable the determination of the students to conquer other languages. Stephanie and her fellow World's End Lane school pupil Dennis Malinsky won the regional round of the spelling competition in March. They competed in the national competition on Friday. Ms. Ebnett said Stephanie, who was the only one in her year to get 100% in a language assessment, was a very good linguist. Stephanie's mother was ecstatic at her daughter's success and expressed her pride that Stephanie was given the opportunity to demonstrate what she could achieve.
A hospital trust facing major reorganisation wants to merge with other hospitals as it struggles to balance the books. Barnet and Chase Farm Hospitals NHS Trust said it was impossible to produce a credible long-term financial plan alone to meet the minimum standards set by independent regulator monitor, which assesses trusts applying for foundation status. Foundation trusts have much more independence from government and more control over their financial affairs, and the Department of Health has insisted all hospital trusts must achieve the status by 2014. Barnet and Chase Farm rejected a merger with the North Middlesex Hospital in April, but the Enfield Independent understands managers are now considering University College London or the Royal Free London as partners trusts in a bid to bring accounts up to standard. However, Councillor Alev Kazamoglu, chairman of Enfield Council's Health and Wellbeing Scrutiny Panel, questioned what had changed for the trust to seek a partner after April's £100,000 feasibility study on a merger found it was not the right time. She said, "I don't know what's changed in 3 months, but continuing as it is not financially viable, and it's got to become a foundation trust by 2014. It seems to be making decisions without any clear strategy. It's government imposing on the trust that it's got to do this, which means our already chaotic local health service is being thrown into even more uncertainty and chaos. Both maternity and accident and emergency services currently provided at Chase Farm Hospital in Enfield will be shared between North Middlesex and Barnet hospitals when the site in the Ridgeway is downgraded in September next year. A Barnet and Chase Farm Trust statement said, the merger plan, which is due to go before the Trust Board on Friday, will not hinder the implementation of the BE8 clinical strategy, which will be completed by autumn 2013. Very confusing.
More carriages and thousands of extra seats are Greater Anglia's solution to the looming challenge of the Olympic Games, when hundreds of thousands of sports fans descend on the capital's already overstretched transport infrastructure. The rail operator hopes that extra late evening and additional weekend services will ease pressure on its routes throughout the period of the Olympic and Paralympic Games. Greater Anglia has also ramped up its weekday timetable from Liverpool Street through Tottenham Hale and Cheshunt stations, which are predicted to be incredibly busy during the Games. Cheshunt is expected to feel the pressure during the canoe slalom competition at the Lee Valley Whitewater Centre. The station will be busy from July the 29th to August the 2nd between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m, and on those evenings from 4 p.m. Tottenham Hale is also expected to be busy throughout the Olympics and the Paralympics between 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Ruud Hackett, Managing Director of Greater Anglia, said, I'm pleased the train timetables for the Games are now available in booklet form from our stations to complement the information we have already made available to customers online.
Also about the Olympic Games and the arrangements. Enfield Council is warning motorists to avoid the Olympic torch route to help avoid congestion. The torch will arrive in Enfield on Wednesday, July the 25th at approximately 3:14 p.m. It will start its journey in Southgate before travelling through Winchmore Hill to the Florence Hayes Adventure Playground in 4th Street, Edmonton. Council leader Doug Taylor said, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to see the Olympic torch pass by. It's a historic occasion and one I'm sure will be thoroughly enjoyed. We want everyone to cheer our torchbearers, but we are advising motorists to avoid the area between 3 p.m. and 5:30 p.m. We'd also appreciate it greatly if motorists would resist the temptation to park their vehicles along the torch route. According to the council, roads might be closed without warning if traffic or crowd conditions are deemed too heavy.
Sporty youngsters have done Enfield proud, winning 3rd place at the London Youth Games. Enfield competed with 32 other London boroughs at the Crystal Palace National Games Centre, rising up from the 9th place last year. This year's Enfield team competed in 44 different sports, with more than 2,000 young people aged 7 to 18 taking part. They achieved a total of 5 wins in boccia, angling, male football, triathlon and table tennis. Individual teams made huge improvements, with the male football team shooting up 26 places and the girls' cricket team climbing 22 places, and the disability female football team climbing 21 places. Cabinet member for schools, Councillor Ifa Orhan, said, this shows the sheer determination of our young people to do well. Teachers and council sports leaders have worked together to improve our sports achievement. This is the best result since 1989, when Enfield won the Games. It is fitting we've done so well in this London Olympics year. We are clearly well placed to do even better next year with a water polo win, which was not included in this year's points. I'm sure we have some future Olympians and Paralympians in our team.
The Home Secretary wants Palmer's Green computer hacker Gary McKinnon to undergo a final psychiatric assessment before deciding whether to extradite him. At the High Court on Thursday, judges were told Theresa May was close to making a decision on whether Mr. McKinnon, 46, should be handed over to authorities in the United States. But she was personally concerned that medical experts instructed by her department had so far not been permitted to carry out an examination to help her decide whether he would be at high risk of committing suicide if removed. Mr. McKinnon, who suffers from Asperger's syndrome, is wanted by US prosecutors for hacking into sensitive government and military databases between 2001 and 2002. He claims he was looking for information on UFOs. His supporters have long argued that he should face justice in the UK, and extradition to America would be a breach of his human rights, given his condition. The case was described by Hugo Keith, QC, appearing for the Home Secretary, as this rather vexed and perhaps totemic case with important implications for Britain's extradition laws. Excuse me. Critics claim the extradition arrangement with the US is one-sided and favours the US, but an independent review by former Court of Appeal Judge Sir Scott Baker last year found it was both balanced and fair. In February, Mr McKinnon's mother, Janice Sharp, joined Enfield Southgate MP David Burrows and other campaigners to hand poems written by supporters to Downing Street. The judges adjourned the case and said it should return to the High Court later this month for a further hearing.
This is a letter from Joy Winterbottom, who is Enfield and Barnet Amnesty International Group. She writes, I guess most of us in Enfield have sympathy for the people of Egypt and Syria who are fighting for their right of freedom, to freedom of speech and democratic government. Many of us are unsure what we can do about it in this country. Maybe we have to accept in the short term there is no easy answer. But in the longer term, we have a great opportunity if Prime Minister David Cameron is prepared to show strong leadership. This month there's a meeting of world leaders to negotiate an arms trade treaty which, if strong enough, could prevent the export of arms by arms-producing countries to areas of conflict where regimes could use them against their own people. Some of the major arms-producing countries, notably China, Russia and the USA, want to water down the terms of the treaty. Only the UK has so far played a positive role for which our leaders should be congratulated. William Hague, Nick Clegg and Ed Miliband have all expressed support for a strict and binding treaty. Now our Prime Minister needs to speak out loud and clear for an effective treaty that covers all kinds of weapons and components of weapons. If everyone who reads this letter would write to the Prime Minister at the House of Commons or email him or your MP. We asked David Burrows to take action at a recent meeting urging strong leadership on behalf of the powerless who were shot, raped or blown up. Then you would have done something to make the world a better place. I assume that's if you write to him.
Enfield Citizens Advice Bureau has backed a decision to extend a park patrol scheme to tackle dangerous dogs. Sonia Kotecha, Chief Executive of the Bureau in Nags Head Road, said the charity had helped victims of dog attack cases in the past year and believes education is the key to lower the risk that can turn a walk in the park into a nightmare. The £38,000 Park Guard scheme was launched by Enfield Council in July last year in reaction to a survey that showed the fear of aggressive dogs as one of the top concerns of people living in the borough. The scheme's officers patrol Enfield's parks and offer advice and training to owners on how to control their pets, as well as dealing with referrals from Enfield Police and the borough's housing team. It was renewed for another year last week after dealing with more than 500 incidents in its first 12 months. Miss Kotecha said, "We read in the newspapers about some really serious attacks, but it is not only the so-called attack dog breeds that are responsible. Even small dogs can do a lot of harm, especially to little children who aren't aware of the risk of getting too close to a stranger's dog." Enfield Southgate MP David Burrows organised a conference on Friday to examine the issue of responsible dog ownership. Speakers included dog behaviour experts, council officers, vets and police.
The Edmonton Green Games are coming to, well, Edmonton Green, I guess. To launch a series of exciting summer events, Edmonton Green Shopping Centre will be hosting a very special evening of entertainment at an opening ceremony starting from 5 p.m. on the 27th of July. This action-packed event will include live performances from Britain's Got Talent and Xmas Factor 11 star Malaki, as well as Loaded Sister, Enfield Blaze cheerleading squad, and many more. Guaranteed fun for all the family, including a giant screen on the concourse, street performers, and the hoisting of the Edmonton Green Games flag with Churchfield Primary School. We will also be launching the Edmonton Green Games, a fantastic mix of free summer events from the 27th of July to the 12th of August, with everything from climbing walls to craft workshops and a rodeo bull challenge. There is something for everyone, and all the live TV coverage throughout. For more event details and news of how to get involved, visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/Edmonton Green, all one word, or the website edmontongreencentre, all one word, .co.uk.
Children at a school in Palmer's Green have been getting into the spirit of London 2012 by making giant Olympic badges. Pupils at Totton Hall Infant School in Totton Hall Road made Olympic-themed badges on Thursday after spending a week in teams designing the logo.
Members of the Green Party have criticised the decision to place missiles at a reservoir in Enfield during the Olympic Games. The William Girling Reservoir on the border with Waltham Forest will be home to one of 6 Rapier and high-velocity missiles based around the capital from the middle of this month. It is part of security plans to protect the Olympic Park in East London, but Douglas Coker from Enfield's Green Party questioned whether the missiles were really necessary. Certainly they are being heavy-handed, he said. If they were used, what would they be fired at? If the intention is to bring an aircraft down, on whose head or on whose home would these be coming down? It's just like that bus on the M6. We have got enough examples of emergency services getting it wrong, and that was completely bonkers. The authorities must have learned lessons from the 9/11 in terms of monitoring aircraft, but surely there must be other things that can be done. Residents in East London are currently launching a legal challenge over the decision to place missiles on a block of flats. Tenants living in Frigwill Tower in Leytonstone yesterday lost a High Court fight to prevent missiles being placed on top of their flats. They had argued that the missiles would make them a target for terrorists. Rapier missiles will be stationed in Enfield, Lewisham, Greenwich and Epping Forest, while high-velocity missiles will be positioned in Tower Hamlets and Waltham Forest. Similar air defence systems have been put in place at all the recent Olympic Games. In spite of the concerns raised by members of the public regarding the deployment of armed forces personnel and equipment in these areas, plans for the implementation of the air defence systems have been finalised. Defence Secretary Philip Hammond said, "The missiles will form just one part of a comprehensive, multi-layered air security plan, which I believe will provide both reassurance and a powerful deterrent."
Here's a letter from Nick Dubois about some stuff that's been going on in Baker Street for a little while by the sound of it. The front page of the Enfield Independent, Nightmare on Baker Street, June the 27th, highlighted the way residents and shopkeepers in Baker Street have reported being terrorised by young thugs who have led a 4-year campaign of violence. I was pleased to be able to give this problem the attention it deserves. After receiving an anonymous letter from a constituent describing the situation in detail, I enlisted the help of reporter David Hardiman and set about speaking to residents and shopkeepers in Baker Street. My investigations found a consistent story from locals. Violence, intimidation and antisocial behaviour affecting the area being perpetrated time and time again by the same young men. I was shocked at the incidents people described to me and appalled that nothing had been done. I have since met with the police borough commander to make sure this is high on the agenda. I've been assured action has already been taken. The police have arrested one youth after taking statements from victims and are holding meetings with families of the troublemakers, local police and council officers. I'm pleased Enfield Police are on the case, but it's clear to me that more needs to be done to bring these thugs to justice. I want to stress to residents that the publicity all stemmed from someone writing me an anonymous letter and bringing the situation to my attention. The only way an MP, the council or the police can deal with local problems is if residents share information about them. As we've seen in this instance, that one letter has marked the start of improving the lives of an entire neighbourhood.
An Enfield mum of two is saddling up for the London to Paris bike ride for a fundraising challenge. Penny Della, 42, from Slade's Garden, will set off today to raise money for the Chicken Shed Theatre Company. She will cycle more than 500k over 4 days, riding through the English countryside, Calais, Abbeville and Beauvais. Penny has worked for the Southgate-based Chicken Shed Theatre Company for a number of years, and her two sons, aged 12 and 14, have been involved since early childhood. She was encouraged to join the theatre company by her mother, who's been an active volunteer for more than 15 years. She said, "I wanted to raise money for Chicken Shed and wanted to challenge myself too. I'm not a sporty person at all, but I thought a bike ride was possible, and I've been in training for nearly 5 months. I've been gradually building up the distance, so what once looked quite daunting on paper now looks achievable." Penny told the Enfield Independent that she felt a mix of excitement and nerves about the ride, saying, "I'm not sure how hard it's going to be, but now I've been in training for so long, I just want to do it." Chicken Shed is an inclusive theatre company that aims to bring people together from all ages, backgrounds and abilities to create groundbreaking, challenging and exciting new theatre. The company runs a series of weekly theatre groups attended by more than 700 young people and frequently takes productions to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival and other theatres round the country. Penny has organised a number of fundraising events to increase sponsorship for her ride, including a cake sale. Although her initial target was £1,400, her huge success so far means that she is now near to breaking the £2,000 mark. Her husband Terry was due to wave her off at 6:45 a.m. on Wednesday from Crystal Palace, and her mum and boys will be at the Eiffel Tower to cheer her on at the finish line on Saturday.
This is about a riotous comedy. For their 2012 touring show, Essex-based theatre company DOT Productions has plumped for an 18th century classic, Oliver Goldsmith's She Stoops to Conquer. One of the few plays from its era with enduring appeal, the story tells of an ambitious stepmother, a pragmatic father, and a pair of star-crossed suitors who are sent spinning on a collision course thanks to a practical joke and a series of mistaken identities. The play will be performed across the country in a variety of indoor and outdoor venues, coming to the impressive gardens of Middleton House on July the 14th. There's something about a bold comedy that lends itself perfectly to a huge variety of venues, says Julie Curl, company producer. Our venues range from intimate theatres to vast gardens, and the characters and story work brilliantly in each different setting. This riotous comedy delights audiences with its shining gems of characters that wouldn't be out of place in a carry-on film. So She Stoops to Conquer is at Middleton House Gardens, Bulls Cross, Enfield on July the 14th at 7 p.m. Details can be phoned on 01621 890 153. That's 01621 890 153.
Here's an editorial about parking. Parking has become the cause du jour with Enfield councillors. As shops struggle through the double-dip recession, with people loath to spend what remains in their pockets after paying for essentials, businesses have it hard. Yet councils are desperate too. Without the money from parking charges, how can they contend with council tax freezes and public sector spending cuts? But despite Enfield Council's claims it consulted the main groups affected before bringing in Sunday parking charges, Business owners and churchgoers in the town increasingly insist that no one ask them. And if they had, they would have made it clear that anything which makes people think twice about shopping in Enfield is a mistake. There are plans for a review, but even if the charges are repealed, can the damage be undone?
One summer's night, while drunkenly crossing Trent Park Golf Course, Hal Maybury, errant husband, ale drinker and Finchley resident, finds in a canyon where the 17th hole should be something that would change his life forever, and something that London will never forget. Hal is the protagonist in The I Am, the new sci-fi novella from Southgate writer and award-winning filmmaker Robert Samuels.
We've reached the end of our programme for this week, so from the team of Malcolm, Elizabeth and myself, with Dave on the controls, it's goodbye everyone.
Goodbye.